Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. If you're here in a place that celebrates Thanksgiving, if not, happy my birthday. So there you go. It's a holiday for everybody.
Happy birthday, Vince.
Thanks, man. I had to beat you to the punch. I knew you were going to try to be nice.
So You were going to be my pick of the week.
I just had to get out in front of you. I don't actually I'm not trying to draw people's attention to my birthday. I just knew you were going to say something, so I was going to beat you to it. See, now you're not a nice person anymore. Gotcha.
Ha! No, you did. Well, the funny thing is your wife beat both of us to it because she's been spamming it in the chat for like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, she's very nice.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yes, absolutely.
She is.
But at any rate, yes. Hello, everyone. It's time for the annual Thanksgiving Spectacular. We're very excited about this. Of course, that's not the only thing we're going to be talking about today, and I just realized, hold on. Sorry, everybody. I had to very quickly bring up the image here because I just realized I didn't have the right image up. There we go. Tom and I were talking beforehand, and I completely forgot to bring up the rumor engine. So, at any rate.
How
you doing? You good?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well.
At
my parents' house in the
His
middle of nowhere.
Are all messy. But that's okay. Yep. He's here with us. He's
my internet is also bad, and so that's probably what you're experiencing now as we talk over each other. And so I'm in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, and as always, internet is the worst here. So I hope you all can just kind of hang with us because it's going to be kind of hit and miss as I talk, and I'll talk over events. I apologize, everybody.
It's okay. Somehow we'll get by. It's a holiday show. This is what happens. Back in the early days, because we would always be back at my in-laws' house. I'd just do this from their basement. It was real slapdash. Now we're a clearly professional operation, so only take it the most serious. But as always, let's start with the news.
Clear. So how about that rumor engine, Vince?
It's a Chaos Shield thing. Cool. I got nothing else. I don't know.
It is. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. Chaosy.
Yeah.
It speaks of chaos. That's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those one of those rumor engines where it's it tells you everything and nothing. You're like, yep, it is exactly what it is. It is a chaos shield of some kind. And it's like, all right. Or like a wheel or a bowl. I don't know. But the point is I can make no guesses about the larger model. But I like Pat S's faith that it's Chaos Ogres. We already have those. They're called Ogroids. They're Ogroid Therodons. They're awesome. We'll talk about them again in a minute for reasons that we'll do later in the show. Okay. Next news items. He'll catch up.
Yep. New show this week, and a couple new items were spoiled, were shown. The Beast of so a couple new books were announced along with a roadmap. We had the Beast of Chaos, Beast Lord, yay! We saw that. What were your thoughts? Let's talk about the Beast of Chaos. Vince, what were your thoughts about Beast of Chaos?
I'm excited to see that book. Beast of Chaos is something that has needed a new book for a very long time, obviously. And I'll be happy to see their dominance at, the most busted army end. Because they'll get a proper book that's balanced, probably without a 4+ rally and probably with reasonable points costs where they don't just spam everything. So they went from one of the worst factions to one of the strongest factions that are now a nightmare to play against. And
yep.
And now they'll be brought back into line. So it'll ostensibly be a nerf if you're theoretically at least. I mean, I don't know. This is all just a guess, of course. Because, if they produce a balanced book, it has to be almost 10% worse than how they perform right now, as far as win rate goes. So, There you go. That's what it is, man.
So probably a nerf. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Like, I have some Zangor, and I'm gonna go for it. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to putting some of those models together. I don't know if I'll end up playing it as Zinch or end up playing it as Beastman. I went with the no video to see if that helps us out at all.
Yeah, that's fine.
On
it's
the
all
delay.
Good.
So
I can find a picture real quick and put it over top of you. I have a picture specifically for this occasion. I just don't know where I have it at the moment, but does seem to be helpful. But at any rate, like that being said, if the book is better internally balanced and has more fun options and more fun ways to play, then it's absolutely a win, right? That's the bottom line.
Of course. Yep. I agree. I am okay with it ultimately being a worse book if it's a better play experience for both those playing the army, and then also more balanced for the meta.
Yeah, 100%. So like I'm guessing that's the only model that we'll get for it. It's probably a one model in a book thing. But that being said, when I look at the 3.0 books and how they've sort of come along so far, I find myself with very high hopes for this, because beasts have a very sort of defined playstyle. It's a horde army, it's an ambush army, and so like they can do a lot of good things there.
Basically, everything that was late.
Nope.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I would say is that everything that's not or everything that's generally later has been good. Obviously we had some struggles with the cruel boys,
sure,
and that needs some reworking. Stormcast has been somewhat lackluster, although a lot of the new stuff is, there's some good stuff in there.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, the books have been real hits, in my opinion.
I agree. By the way, shout out to Zambies in the chat. What's up, Zambies? My birthday buddy. It's also Zambi's birthday today, so wish her a happy birthday as well. I watched Zambi stream earlier today. She was painting a whole bunch of, or she was playing a game. That's what she was doing today. Sorry, my apologies. And it looked very fun. But happy birthday, Zambies. I forgot because I switched to a bunch of other painting streams after, like, we jumped from her to other people. I was watching them paint. It's been a very relaxing day. Quiet. That's what I like. Anywho, but it's not just the beasts. It's also the Gits.
No, Gits. I was so excited and I was so sad. I'm assuming that the Wolf Riders and the Underworlds Warband are the only new stuff that we're probably going to get model-wise.
Yep.
I've been eternally hopeful for new Spider Riders, and that definitely did not happen. So
sure,
that happened.
I mean, we got these Wolf Rider dudes, and they're really cool.
Man, if it.
So that's something.
Yeah, just their aesthetic doesn't match anything else other than Snarlfang, the Rippa. There's just no other unit that it really matches. Like, all the other goblins wear hoods, not like little Mongolian spy cats.
Sure.
And so I struggle with some of the aesthetics of it, because it echoes old Git Mob. It doesn't echo current Gloomspite. Now, I recognize that there's a diversity of aesthetics in Gloomspite, with the Spider Riders being more forest goblin-y.
Sure.
But regardless, that's disappointing to me. Is that, like, I don't know. It just feels like we could have went somewhere with the Spider Riders, and instead we decided to, like, add an additional aesthetic to the army, of which there are many currently, between the trolls, the Gloomspite, the normal Gloomspite, and then the Spider-Fang. So we'll see. That said, if any army needed a book, it was indeed the Gloomspite. Like, sure. That book was struggling.
There you go, Tom. I got you all covered now. I got you up here.
I'm super happy. I'm super happy to see. Oh,
there we go. Wonderful. Tom is with us. He's here. Even though we can't see his face, we get your caricature. So you're all set, Tom. Don't worry.
Delightful. Delightful. So, I mean, what I would say is that, I mean, I'm excited for Gloomspite. I have just a metric crap ton of Gloomspite. And so I hope that they get good.
Yeah, agreed. Like, I think this will be one of the most challenging books they've written. I mean, I think the reason why this was the last, even though it might have been the one that needed it the most, is because this is a really hard book to write. It's a big army. There's lots of different units. They go from, being an absolute horde army with just troops everywhere to being hyper elite with like a very small model count trolls and some monsters or something, right? And so that's like a tough army to write a coherent book for, because it's just all over the shop.
Right.
So, I mean, I think I'm hoping that this means they cracked it.
It is challenging. That army can feel difference.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Cool. What else? And then, roadmap. Let's talk roadmap. All right, Tom. It's time for us to put on our tinfoil hats. So we know in winter of here coming up, next.
What I do best.
Now is the winter of our discontent or content and happiness, because we get the actual S2D book release, of course. Beasts and Gits. Okay, fine. Cool. Good enough. Now, in the spring, we have 5 books, Tom. 5 books. Oof, that's a busy 3 months. Okay. 1 Order Battle Tome. 2 Chaos Battle Tomes.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I love. Let's do this. Let's just lean into this pace.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know you've been pushing for it.
That we'll have 9 books halfway through the year.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, by the way, that one that's in summer doesn't mean that's the only one that's in summer.
I am in for this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Sure. Okay.
Agreed. I'm stoked.
So, spring brings us 1 Order, 2 Chaos, 2 Death. Okay? Summer brings us 1 Order that we know of. That we know about.
Yep.
What is this? We'll start with the easy ones. Okay? What are the 2 Death battle tomes in spring?
It's clearly OBR and FEC.
You got to be correct, right? It's not going to be Soulblight, theoretically, because they had the last book in 2.0 effectively. So theoretically, they'll be the last one this time around as well. So I agree. Let's put our money on FEC and OBR. 2 books that need updated.
Yep.
Okay. Chaos. 2 books. Yep. Who are our 2 Chaos books?
I'm going to go with Khorne and Slaanesh.
Yeah, because they're the only 2 Chaos factions left that don't have books. So it would either have to be something new, or we're getting those 2, and it's going to be those 2. Right. Okay.
It's those 2. Yes, of course.
All right. Now, we have 2 Order battle tomes here, Tom. Okay. 1 in spring, 1 in summer.
Yep.
Okay. And the challenge is we have 3 Order armies that need new books. Okay. KO, Seraphon, Cities. So, is the summer book the Cities release? Because that's what we've been leading on, that, journey to the new Cities of Sigmar. So, can we safely assume that's the Cities book? Okay. And then the question is...
it is.
Okay, fair enough.
Like that.
So then that leaves KO and Seraphon in the spring. Who's getting the book? KO, Seraphon.
Well, my my heart tells me that it's KO because Seraphon's not a real army. But realistically, I think it'll be Seraphon without a model reef.
Okay.
And I think that KO will be the clinger, like the hanger on, and I think they will. I think KO ultimately is one of the hardest books to balance.
Sure.
Just because of all the moving parts and because of that stuff. Don't get me wrong, KO to be in the spring, but I think that probably I think it'll probably be updated later, and I don't know when that is. So yeah, I think it'll be cities, and it's also why I don't think that we're going to get a Seraphon line to get us new city relaunch, and I don't think that we'll have 2 full relaunches like that short span.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree that I think the spring will be Seraphon, unless it's just like another Lumineth book, which is always possible. You never count out the Lumineth just showing up with another book. But yeah, I tend to agree it'd be Seraphon. I think for the exact reason we just said. I think that KO is just a really, really tough nut to crack to have this all shooting army. And I think that it's where it is. And I'll say Cygnus, maybe you could be right. He said that, that he thinks summer is too soon for cities because right now we're seeing CAD files and stuff. That doesn't mean that's where they are, Cygnus. Right now you're seeing whatever marketing deigned to show you. Okay? The entire city's army could be completely done. Indeed. In fact, like, odds are it probably is. Like, they're not soliciting feedback.
Isn't this a 40K update year as well?
Yeah, this is the summer of a new 40K. 2023 will be the summer of a new 40K line. Yeah, correct. The 10th edition or whatever. Yeah. So, like, they're showing us CAD files. That doesn't mean anything, though. Those could have been done a year and a half ago. Like, when they were doing the Sisters of Battle previews leading up to it, those sisters had been locked, stocked, and ready to rock for a year. Right? So, like, yeah, what marketing is showing you and what the design studio is doing do not necessarily have anything to do with each other. Okay? So, yeah, there you go. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, good roadmap. I love the pace. Keep up the pace. Can we hit 5 tomes in the spring? I hope so.
I mean, but that also means it will basically be done by the end of the year if we get a KO book by the end of the year, right?
Well, I want to be done by summer.
Will everybody be updated at that point?
Yeah, I want, KO and Soulblight.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're almost done.
Good. I want the last 2 in summer. I want those to be like 2 more tomes we don't see yet.
Yep. Yep. And then
because I want everybody's books done a full year before we get to
narrative and new armies.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be. Buying a book 3 months before the new edition sucks. It sucks. That's it.
Yep.
So, all right, cool. Let's keep going. That's all the new stuff. Let's talk about some pick of the week. Tom, you got anything you want to share with everybody for the pick of the week?
Yeah. So mine's going to be a little bit of a weird one. Vince and I were traveling this last weekend. We had a friend who got married in Houston, and we had an opportunity to swing by a local game store. And Vince and I visited Asgard Games in Houston, Texas. And I want to spruik Asgard Games for anybody that's traveling in the Houston area. It was a wonderful little store. They had some amazing deals on both on Warhammer, on Magic, on a number of different things. They had a super active community. They had 4 or 5 games of Warhammer going. Yeah. And there it was pretty awesome. So
they had like a legacy
so my pick of the week is actually a local game store.
I think that's a great pick. I was very impressed by it. It was very nice, very clean. Everybody was friendly. A bunch of people in there playing games, like you said. was great. I'd love to have that game store next to me. So yeah, I was very impressed by that store, and actually had my friend or our friend who we went down there to go to his wedding pick up more stuff for us. So there you go. We talked about Battle Force boxes last week, Hamid. I think now we have the pricing. I haven't seen the English, the USD pricing yet. I think I saw the UK pricing was like £130, which is in line with where I expected. So that actually puts them on the cheaper end of what I was expecting. So those Battle Force boxes got even better than I was anticipating. But yeah, we did cover them last week, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we talked about them. Okay. Oh, what about the Underworlds models? They're fine. The new Underworlds Gits models. I didn't pull down pictures of them, but yes, there is an Underworlds Gits warband too. And Jenna says it's 210. I think I said 210 when we reviewed them as our flag in the sand, so I either said 210 or 220, so feels about right. Good. My pick of the week. If you didn't get enough hot Slaves to Darkness action last week during our big review of the tome, then I want you to go over to AOS Coach's channel and check out his review with Phil Marshall. Great review. Really good video. Coach is always the man, so go check that out. Linked in the description below. Let's do some hobby time here. Tom, I doubt you have any hobby time to report, but let's see. Have you worked on anything, Tom?
Really, Vince? Really? I sent you pictures this week of what I've been working on.
Oh, that is true.
I based 100 and some models. That happened. On my personal hobby side, and then on my kind of professional side, my commission work, I put together the last couple models that needed to be done, and there's some of the Sylvaneth bugs, and so I got to drilling out the holes of them and put them on some new flight stands, and yeah, I'm excited.
Okay.
So I've been working on quite a bit this week, friend.
Hey, I take it back. You impressed me. Between the travel and everything that was going on, I wasn't sure if you'd have any time, but hey, way to go. Way to go, buddy. For myself, my hobby time has been limited, but I'm still working on this guy. He's the first one for my for a Golden Demon project, and it takes a while to do every section of skin to like Golden Demon quality, turns out. So this guy's going real slow, but I got the skin done today, and by done I mean I got the skin to like done-ish. Nothing's ever done. You got to go back and touch up things 100 times, but feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good about where he's at right now. All his skin is done. He's very pale, which I like. And now it's time to turn to the leather belts. And I was experimenting with the leather on his back and what exactly I want that to look like. So that's my little hobby time this week. Working on my little Ogroid friend. That and a lot of work on next year's book for Snarling Badger. So there you go. That's been my hobby time. Well, with that, Tom, I think it's time for a Thanksgiving tradition. So for those of you in the U.S., obviously it's Thanksgiving. Go ahead.
I would say that sounds delightful. How many years have we been doing this? What, 6 years now for this segment?
At least. I don't know when. I can't tell you when this particular tradition started. We just started it, and then now it is. It has a life of its own. I don't control it, but it controls me now. And that is, of course, the Thanksgiving spectacular game that everybody loves, Thankie or Jankie, where we look back at the year that was and we rate everything either Thankie or Jankie. Are we thankful for it, or is it jank and rating down? And why do we think those things? Okay. So, Thankie or Jankie, let's get into it. Okay, first off, we're going to jump right into the deep end here, Tom, on the first slide. Battle Tomes. Okay.
Oof.
There were. I'm counting
Okay.
I'm counting S2D.
Yep.
I don't care about what they say. Like S2D is obviously out. It may not be like GW tournament
It has
legal,
been released.
but it's been released.
Yes.
So that's 11 tomes this year.
Yep.
Fyreslayers, Ideneth, Nighthaunt, Doc, Skaven, Sylvaneth, Disciples of Tzeentch, Sons of Behemoth, Ogre Maw Tribes, Lumineth Realm Lords, and Slaves to Darkness. Okay. So before we get into each individual tome... Go ahead.
How many dual boxes we got out of those 11 tomes?
Oh, I didn't actually pull up the dual boxes. I don't know. I don't even remember. I cannot remember those things. They're just so forgettable. There was the Ghosts versus Daughters had one. Did Fyreslayers IDK have one? I don't know. I don't remember.
They did. Yep.
Skaven and Sylvaneth had one, right? And then
Slaanesh and Doc had one, right?
No, that was from last year. That was from the past. This is the problem. They all just blend together. Because it's just, did you get a new hero?
Yep.
Right? And didn't we have Arcane Cataclysm this year too? That was the Tzeentch versus Lumineth one. That was one.
We did. Yep. Tzeentch and Yep.
I agree with Brad, who said Tom's connection tonight is definitely in the janky category. That's true. That is true. But that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch of them. But, who cares? They're all so forgettable, is the problem with FOMO boxes. You get a new hero in there, you get your hands on that hero, the rest of the box is usually forgettable. That's usually what those things are. Okay. Before we do the Thankie or Jankie...
Rust Belt Blacksmith said KO box. And I want to point out that was 2 years ago when... That was two years ago when the KO book dropped.
Yeah. Okay.
That was an entire editions book away. But that's exactly what it is, right? That it is so forgettable that all of them have just literally blended together over these last 3 or 4 years.
Unless they have a particularly memorable hero in them that causes some huge stir and wants to be used in everybody's army, you just don't remember the box. I remembered the Nighthaunt Doc one first because its two heroes were both remarkable. The Nighthaunt one for being so bad and the Doc one for being so good and underpointed. Right? But most of them I'm just wait, who was in that thing? Anybody special? Did anything happen of note there? So, yeah. Okay. Obviously, I guess the Sylvaneth one had the Lady of Vines, which she's super cool, so. All right. Before we get into the individual tomes, okay, and whether we're Thankie or Jankie on those, let's talk about the pace of the release. So, Tom, 11 books in 12 months. As a general pace, Thankie or Jankie? Where are you living? Is he still there? He's still there.
I'm here. Sorry.
You're okay. On the general pace of 11 of them, what do you think? Thankie or Jankie?
I'm it. Thankie. I love it. Let's just keep trucking along. 11 more every year.
Why not 12? Yeah, absolutely. I'm Thankie as well. It's been great. And although there's been periods in the year where I really didn't care because I just don't really like any of those particular armies, man, there's been periods this year where I am beyond excited. Having Sons, Ogres, and S2D all coming out relatively quick around each other. That was great. It gave me so many... I so excited to just get to the table and play. I just wanted to get games in, right? So, yeah, unbelievably Thankie for the pace. Okay. Warpstone Enjoyer says, some of the pace is just backlog from last year, surely. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, honestly, Warpstone. If you go back to pre-pandemic, they went this pace on books. I think it was their complete intention to keep at basically 10 to 12 books a year. Okay? And just the problem they ran into was this little pandemic challenge, and it screwed up all their shipping and demolished their roadmap and so on and so forth. Like, looking at the roadmap for 2023, which clearly they're betting that they're not going to have the same, supply issues or whatever. There are 9 books by June, right? That's a lot. Clearly the back half of the year isn't going to be the same or whatever. Yep. So.
Well, you got to remember, I think it's a 40K year.
Right. The back half of the year will be like 40K.
So the release is this fall. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep. So that's fine. We're getting our time in the first half of the year, Q1, Q2. That's AOS's time to shine. Okay. Let's do the Thankie or Jankie on the individual tomes. Here we go. First up, it's Fyreslayers. Okay. Tom, I'm going to let you go on this one. Thankie or Jankie for Fyreslayers 3.0 tome.
Jankie. I wanted to like this book so badly. Finished painting some stuff up. Took them to an event. It was just a very, they just have fundamental problems. And so I think the book really struggles, and getting one new model that looks like all the rest of the models, it just was not enough. As well, when it combined with the GHB rules, that did nothing to help the book with this latter half of the year as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know where I stand on Fyreslayers as an army. This is janky. I just don't care about Fyreslayers as an army. I'm sorry for the 7 Fyreslayer players in the world. But, they didn't do anything to really solve I agree with you, the fundamental flaws of the book. That you have 3 infantry units. Yeah, they have different roles now, but they're all boring and samey. You have 2 different kinds of, melee guys, one of whom is just almost abjectly better than the other in almost all circumstances. And, I guess it gave us some ability to use, Magmadroth lists more thoroughly, which was fun. But, piloting around 5 Magmadroths doesn't feel like, or whatever, doesn't feel like the way this book should be made or should be played, I guess. Jonathan Ensor said, do you think GW regrets making Fyreslayers in the first place? Yep. Yep. Because now they're saddled with this thing when it's clearly not enough of an army. It's the dark mirror of this, and by that I mean the good version is Ironjawz, where they came out with 7-8 kits, and it's brilliant. And people love it because they're all extremely differentiated. Every kit is completely different from the other. You look at the silhouette of an Ironjawz army, it's completely distinguishable. Every sculpt, everybody's got a different role. They all work together. Everything is fine, with the exception of the pigs have too much rend and bust the internal balance. But Fyreslayers it's never been like that. It's there's a bunch of dudes without pants. So. Yep. It was a step up over the previous book. I'll give it that. So, there you go. We got less janky, but still janky. Okay. Next up, Idoneth Deepkin. Idoneth Deepkin. IDK. Thankie or Jankie? Tom, where are you living? Where are you living on this one?
Honestly, I'm Thankie for the new IDK.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that they provided a balanced experience that, with the units, I think the units all have a place now, to me, in my opinion. And it feels like there's a lot of different reasons to take different units now. And that has not always been the case. And so it feels like IDK has not been putting up big numbers competitively, but I think that I think there's a lot of gas in that battle tome, and I think that like overall, I was just very thankful with the way that the book came out. I mean, so much so that like I functionally own an IDK army at this point.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that it is a far shot from where it's been in the past.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see what happens to them sort of in the next season, in the next GHB, or whenever Bounty Hunters goes away, right? Because I do think that the book has pretty good internal balance. There's some challenges. I think maybe maybe turtles are a bit too expensive or something, but they're good. They're like really strong. It's a lot of interesting stuff in there. I think some of the internal balance of that book has been really hampered, like especially the Thrall side, by the existence of bounty hunters. Because Thralls are like legitimately terrifying as a unit. They're just very fragile, and in a bounty hunter world, they just evaporate instantaneously. So, like, but for the most part, I look at the army and I'm like, yeah, it's not eel spam anymore. They opened up a lot of builds. The thing with IDK, and I think it's more or less played out like I expected it to, is it punches slightly above average, but it has challenges because it's a very, very high skill floor army. It's this sort of ballet dancing on a knife's edge army, and you have to use all of your pieces really, really, really carefully, or you lose. Like, you have a lot of tools. You have a very impressive toolbox.
There's just no room for mistakes in the army.
Yep. And that just creates challenges, right? Like, that's going to be hard. Bub Souls, what's Bounty Hunters? Bounty Hunters is and don't worry, Keith, we'll get to that. Bounty Hunters is a battalion that was introduced in the most recent General's Handbook that is bad and allows units to do more damage than they should. I think is the simplest answer I can give. Okay, cool. Next up, Tom, your favorite, Night Haunt. Spooky boys. It's the spoopy ghosty boys.
Thankie. With one small janky reserve, I'm going to pour one out for my black coach. But as a whole, the book is fairly. It offers some fairly interesting build options. Mm-hmm. Whether you want to go hero hammer or horde heavy, whether you want to go which kind of is your unit of choice in running horde heavy. It gives lots of reasons to run different units. It struggles with the black coach just doesn't have a function.
Sure.
And then but I was thanky for them. But in the big picture, I think that they just barely tip into the thanky category because they had some real failures, right? The black coach was one of those, in my opinion. The news, remember the cross boosts, which have never hit a competitive table ever.
Sure.
Because they're overcosted and just functionally don't do anything, right?
Right.
And Glaive Wraith Stalkers still don't do anything. Like, this is our third iteration of that unit that just simply does not have an identity. And so I think that all of those just really struggle.
Yeah.
Is what I would say.
No, I agree.
And again,
it's funny.
The new character was just laughably bad.
Yeah, Descriptor Mortis. Yeah, they tip over just into Thankie for me too. But they're 51% Thankie. They are a very scary army, especially on their turn when they multi-charge things and put them into ASL and rip their saves off and all that kind of thing. Like, it's a very swingy army. It's a very strong army, but I'm still Thankie for it. On the whole, there's a lot better internal balance, as you mentioned. They've been able to weather the bounty hunter storm through their little damage reducer guy. And they were one of the few armies that could really play strong into Expert Conquerors, that had a lot of interesting gameplay in that regard. So they presented a nice, interesting challenge to the rest of the meta. So like I just think they play interestingly. They have some interesting options. Even if you're like from just taking and spamming, Bladegeist Revenants, which is kind of the least interesting thing, but plenty of people have done it, to, as you mentioned, Hero Hammer, or a lot of like mixed sort of forces. I've seen many different builds, and they all do relatively well when piloted strongly. So yeah, I mean, they can be a little NPE sometimes if they land the right multi charges, but hey, that's okay. It's they're scary on their turn, and then when it comes to your turn, they're not as scary often. So that's fine. Okay, cool. Daughters.
It's a melee army that's scary on the and there's not a lot of melee armies that, like, I know it sounds weird because everybody's like, well, what about Iron Jaws? Like, but they really excel on the double more so than most other melee armies.
Sure.
And they also lose on the double. Like Iron Jaws still do well even if they don't get the double. Nighthaunt really struggles.
Yeah, well, Iron Jaws can always bust themselves out of the normal order sequencing if they activate smartly and use Smash and Bastion and that kind of stuff. So like they have options, yeah. Okay. Daughters of Cain. Marathi's daughters here. I'm gonna go first on this one. I'm Thankie for this book. The Gladiatrix was underpointed originally, but that's been fixed. We didn't fix Marathi and the Bow Snakes, which is a problem that still exists and shouldn't still exist. But here we are. But that being said, it hasn't been near as dominant. It has that ridiculous 4-up rally command trait or artifact, or whichever one it is. Artifact, I think. That needs to go away. Like, that's unacceptable for a broadcasted 4-up rally like that. But, like, I'm going to list the problems that could push it toward Jankie. But that being said, I'm still Thankie. It still tips into the Thankie side for me. More of the units are interesting. I think the only reason you haven't seen witches and sisters and stuff is because of bounty hunters. I don't think there's actually anything fundamentally wrong with it. I think it's literally just the season that stopped them. And I think, you'll see a lot more different books, again, whenever that changes. When I look at the tome overall, there's lots of different lists that I think are interesting.
Yeah, I disagree with that in the sense that I don't like witches, like heavy bodies. I don't think that the bounty hunters changed anything, because if you're running heavy snakes, all of those are bounty hunterable, right? They're all,
the difference is how exposed
because
are you?
They're battle line.
Yeah, the difference is how exposed are you? Right, and by the way, you can very easily control those snakes being not battle line. And people often do.
Yeah.
They have like 3 units of witches or sisters as just bounty, like just throwaway chaff, and then none of the snakes are battle line. Like, that's a fairly common thing that happens.
I'm going to come out strong on this and say that the book was janky.
Okay.
And my reasoning for this is that it exploited, or it demonstrated all the work. Like, and it's funny because we just had obviously the AOS Masters and like the USA Championship, and like 2 of the 8 armies were docked, right? So it's hard to say, like, why is the book janky if 2 of the 8 are docked? But I think that actually
2 of the 16. Remember, there were 16 people.
It had all the worst. I'm sorry. Sorry. I think all of the worst elements of the of 3.0 were found in that book. And the things that were bad that were leading into the book never got fixed. Okay. So Marathi and the Bow Snakes never got fixed. Like, none of that appreciably changed. Right. So that was a problem we already had coming into this book.
Yep.
Stayed the same. We had we gained a 4+ rally, which is just asinine, right?
Yep.
Like, that order ability just should not exist.
Agreed.
Especially in the way that it's written. And so it's just terrible. We gained, at least initially, we had an underpointed, the Gladiatrix, which was an underpointed unit that was way too efficient. But most egregiously was the battle tactics, because like in official events, we now had these battle tactics that were basically autocomplete for this army. And so they just weren't playing the same game that most other people were when these tactics were in play for competitive events. And so from that standpoint, like, it's just janky. Like, they're not playing the same game everybody else is. And this comes from a person who has a doc army, right?
Sure.
And yet I still think that it's just egregious how we still have these same problems, and we've just added more additional problems. So I just really struggled with this version of the book, and I just did not see it healthy for the meta for all of it, in its state. In my experience, it would MPE games.
Okay. No, I think that's all fair. I get it. And no part of me is going to try to deny those issues existing, right? Like, that's not at all what I'm saying. I think everything you said is either, something I said as well, or something I completely and totally agree with, right? To me, it was just like the good still outweighed the bad, because there were elements of the tome I felt were improved, and that I liked overall what it was doing there. But I can easily see how you come down janky on Doc. It would definitely be the next one I would put as janky after Fire Slayers if I'm rating them. So I get that. I totally get that. To me, it feels like, it feels like for me it's 50.1% or something, right? Like, it just crosses the line for me. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So, yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. Let's see. Next up, Skaven. The jankiest Thankie that could be. Because, let me defend this. I'm super Thankie for this book. I want to say that. I've played a ton of Skaven games since this came out, and I have had such an amazing and fun time with 80 different builds. It is a list builder's dream. It is so many more units are interesting. You want to play a ton of units. You want to use a ton of small heroes. Even into the bounty hunter meta, which is rough for Skaven because they have a lot of their base battle line dudes that you might want to use, like clan rats and storm vermin can't dodge it. But at the same time, a lot of their guys can. You can make a lot of people sort of not battle line suddenly. There are problems because it has so many scrolls. Obviously not everything's good, and it's a shame to see the Screaming Bell be a complete and total pile of trash that should never be taken ever. Because somebody doesn't understand how probability works when they rewrote a table. But at the same time, there's so much more in the book that's great. So many of the Vermin Lords are great. So many of the little heroes are great. Rat Ogres are great. The Eshin stuff's great. Giant rats can be great. Sensor bearers are great. It's wild. I could just keep going, right? And they're all fun. They all fit in lists very differently. Now, the janky part of it is that it feels like a 2.75 book, right? And that we still feel like it just doesn't feel like we got to play with all the toys. No manipulation of reinforcement points in any way right after Doc manipulates reinforcement points. The non-Horde army, Doc. Get out of here. Doc is not a Horde army. Stop it. Okay, but no reinforcement point manipulation. No playing around with really much of the new mechanics at all in the book, like new heroic actions and stuff like that you see in most of these other books. Nothing. None of that. Okay? It felt very much like a 2.75 book. But that being said, it was a drastic improvement over the old tome. The way it opened up Battle Line was so refreshing. It lets you just build the army in so many fun ways. And, that's a win to me. I still keep building new lists right now to this day with that tome. I can't think of better praise. And I've just haven't had an unfun game with them. So like, I don't know how much what could be more Thankie. Like, sure, there are downsides. Like, it's not a perfect picture, but it's been really fun. So I don't know. There you go. That's my read. Tom, anything you want to say about the Ratty Boys? Besides the fact that we need to get a new model line. And maybe that's why we got a 2.75 book. Because if we're going to get our glorious new model line at some point, maybe it's next summer after the order book. Maybe it's right after Cities of Sigmar. You know, who knows? Who knows? Who can say? Is Tom still there? Did we lose him? Oh, we lost Tom. I'm talking to no one. See, I have him covered up. But nope, no Tom. He'll be back in a minute, I'm sure. That's fine. I'll keep talking. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Tom has bad internet. I don't know what to tell you. Here's where we are. But that's all right. We lost to Tom. He's gone. He'll be back at some point. It's okay. Okay. Nicholas says, I would love Skaven so much if their battle line looked half decent. Yeah, I get it. Clan rats aren't exciting because they all look the same because they're sculpts from like, those clan rats are from 2006, I think. 2005, 2006. So, it's fine. Our glorious redesign will come. Our day will come. Hey, Tom's back. We'll see if he gets. We'll see when he can talk again. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a book I'm incredibly grateful for because it opened up so much fun for me. And despite the not having new models, I'm not gonna lie, it just made me go out and like get some 3D prints. Like, you know, if you're not gonna make new models, I'm gonna make it happen. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm not buying those old rat ogres, and I'm not buying the you know, night runners and gutter runners, just pitiful excuses for models. Like, I'm just gonna go out and make it happen. And there's plenty of people out there right now making awesome Skaven 3D prints. So, you know, we can do it our own way while we're waiting on our glorious relaunch. Hey, you back, Tom?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I think that Skaven is. Did you say you thought it was your Thankie for the book?
100% Thankie. Yeah, I mean, like, yes, I talked about some of the jank things. Like, it's a 2.75 book, and you know, there are some complete trash units, but still.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I'm Thankie for that book as well. It's a nice book. You know, I've built a bunch of lists out of it, and I'm still finding lists. So I think that is it's something that I'm thankful for, even though it has severe limitations.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Next up, Sylvaneth, Tree Elves. Tom, I'm going to start with you since you're back. Thankie or Jankie?
You know, I'm gonna go Jankie. I'm being a little bit negative tonight, I think. I struggled with it felt like all the problems that were there are still there.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very expensive army, so you don't get to put a lot of toys down. Like I like list building is a chore in that sense because it feels like you don't get enough. And it has one of the worst negative play experiences out there with the like scythe bomb retreat stuff. Between that and just the experience of trees in general and casting Warsong casting out of trees, like it's just it feels like it's a book of gotchas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like that doesn't generate good play experiences. And like, and the bugs themselves, like they're fine. They're fine. So I don't know. I was disappointed with the book.
Okay. Oh, I know Hades. They're not actually elves, but it's funny. Well, one, it's funny to call them tree elves, just like it's funny to call Ideneth wet elves. And two, of course they're not elves. If they were elves, they'd get better books. Hey-o! Okay. So, I'm going to say Jankie on Sylvaneth as well. But this one is quite the just tips over the edge. Like this one's the sort of flip side to me of Daughters. Like this one's the 50.1% janky or something, right? And I say that because when it came out, it had like, I appreciate a lot of the work that went into this. Strike and Fade's a cool idea. It's very Sylvaneth.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the woods fixes, so you don't have to have trees everywhere. We got overgrown terrain. Finally. Freaking finally. Huge win there. Okay? Alariel got the come back to life rule that we all said she should have. Like, yay. Right?
Right.
So, like, things happened that I wanted to see happen. But in the end, the book had a lot of, like, problematic builds initially, and yet none of them really manifested into, you know, like, like, it's not a broken army. You know, please don't mishear me.
No, like you can plan against it, right? Like you can outplay it. Yeah. But it's still like it just doesn't generate good play experiences.
Yeah, I agree. It's just not a fun book to play against. And it's, honestly, I've piloted it a few times because I have a Sylvaneth army, and I just didn't have fun playing it. Like I was like, this is too much. It's too taxing. There's too many weird things going on. So I haven't enjoyed playing against it or with it. And in the end, like, a lot of the units just feel like they're not doing what they should be. It's like Dryads still feel like a complete and total waste of space. Spite revs are just dead in the water, especially in the current season. Maybe they'll get better at some point, but boy, oh boy, are they just worthless now. You know, the bug riders, I get, like, underwhelm to a point. Gossamids, for all the terror everybody had of Gossamid archers, and I do think they're good. I do think they're worth having a unit in there of Gossamids. You know, they're fine is the answer. They're fine, right?
They feel like current. They feel like current Skyfires. Like, yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, exactly. Like, I like current Skyfires. I like Gossamids just fine. But you know, I think people are kind of against them, but I think they're fine. The Tree Lord Ancient's still a single caster. That's probably fine. He can always be a single caster, but he needs more utility or to come down in points. Like, he's too expensive for what he brings to the force. Yep. And then ultimately they got encouraged to build this hyper castle formation and just spell sing across the board. Like this one build was so preeminent, and has been corrected some, but is still obviously sort of the way to go, where you just spring a unit out from your castle and slingshot them, smash a unit, and fall back to your castle immediately, right? And then just recall them back. And that just feels is my answer. So
yeah. No, I agree with that.
It like just tilts for me. Like, it's the kind of thing where maybe, you know, I'm being too hard, or I don't know. Maybe Tyler we're missing Tyler, but you know, I'm sure he'd come in here with a slightly different opinion. I do think it's a much better book than their previous one. Do not get me wrong there. It is like, oh my God, miles better than their previous book. That was just jank as all janky. To me, like I said, it just missed it by that much. It's like 49.9% Thankie, but not quite there. I'm on the line.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Disciples of Tzeentch. We got our battle chickens. We've got, you know, various colors of fire, many different fire colors. We got little sky sharks. Tom, where are you living on Disciples of Tzeentch?
I'm Thankie for Disciples of Tzeentch. I think that it, in its current build, it provides lots of options. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a reason and utility for multiple units. I don't think it pigeonholes any one direction strongly. I think that it will only get better in the new world without the like bounty hunters, for example.
Yeah, I'm worried about what happens with Pinks. Do Pinks become a terror again post bounty hunters, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think the answer is maybe, right? But right now, Pinks aren't dominating the landscape.
Sure.
And so I suspect that when we get into that landscape, Pinks are going to show back up, but I think that they're probably going to be about appropriate. right? And I think that that's the point, is that I think that they'll be in just the right spot in the new world.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I'm a fan of Tzeentch, and I pulled the trigger on a Zangor Tzeentch army, right? Because I finally got enough of what I wanted.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Tzeentch comes down in the Thankie for me as well, and I think it's decently secure in that area. We fired agendas off the roof, which was good. That was dumb.
Yep.
I like a lot of the tech that they brought in there. Like, I think both Enlightened and Skyfires have interesting play and interesting tech. They sort of have these interesting roles that they gave them because of their unique rules. I think that's fun. I do think Pinks will be back on the table again post Bounty Hunters. I think Screamers are really, really potent and scary and underappreciated as both a unit and a battle line unit and a threat.
I agree with that.
I think that a lot of their casters can do really interesting things. I was sad to see the Beacon of Sorcery FAQ change for no reason. Like, let the big chickens bonus each other, for God's sakes. Why are we stopping that? Who gives a hoot? But like, the Gaunt Summoner being able to put people in the Silver Tower is funny. Like, that's a neat, fun ability.
Like, that was a huge flavor win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, both putting people in the tower and also pulling things out of the tower. Like, when I saw that, I was like, man, this is a huge lore win right here.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's really just like the Tzeentch book could probably use little points touch-ups here and there on some things. But for the most part, it feels good. It feels like it's in the right place. It's doing a lot of fun things. It feels very Tzeentchy, like it's super on flavor. Hello, dear.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sweetheart. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I love you.
I love you.
Can't quite do that over the side. Do you want to say hi?
Oh, the one is already saying hi.
Go.
Everybody hit like for dogs.
Like and subscribe.
Absolutely. All right. So, yeah, I mean, to me, Tzeentch is about where it should be. They've got shenanigans, they've got tricks, they cheat in a fun way. You know, there you go. Like, that's what Tzeentch should be doing. Like, there it is. All right. Cool. Next up, Tom. Sons of Behemoth. The big boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. Thankie. I'm like, again, is it perfect? No. Is it as good as what we rewrote? No. But did we get a lot of amazing things? Yes. We got King Broad. He's a priest. He's amazing. We got the Beast Smasher. He's amazing. We got the coolest monstrous action rampage, in the game. Period. Like, the coolest monstrous rampage. Body slamming other monsters onto the battlefield. Incredible. Okay? Making them fight last. Like, woe be to those who just dare to bring monsters to a Sons of Behemoth game. You're bringing a knife to a gunfight there, buddy. Tell you what, it's all over. Okay? So,
right, and
love it.
And that's how it should feel. I mean, that's what it should be. They should be the king of monsters, and it feels that way.
Okay, let me answer a question here in the chat. Asmo, if I've got 2,000 points worth of demons from fantasy, can I get Be'lakor and make it into a playable army? Which books do I need? No, not anymore. There used to be a thing called Legion of the First Prince where you could do essentially what you're describing. That does not exist anymore. At least not in that form. Legion is part of a new thing in S2D now. And you can use the basic demons in there. So like the Daemonettes, Plague Bearers, and so on. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. It is a thing. If you have a cross-section of demons, like if you've got across-the-board demons, that's not very useful, sadly. Like, there is no just all of the demons get together army anymore. The demons are now exist in their own silos. So, like, if your 2,000 points are mostly of one god, then, yeah, just get that book, right? So if, like, you've got mostly, I don't know, Bloodletters and Bloodthirsters, that's a shame, because then you're buying a very old book in the Khorne book. But a new book will be coming soon, we highly suspect. because it's the only 2 Chaos books left that haven't been done, and there's 2 Chaos books in the roadmap in the spring, so feels like it's a good bet. And, that could be it. That's the way you have to go with that. If you want to do S2D, Slaves to Darkness, then, Bellicor is part of that army, but you really don't have much use for anything beyond the most basic demons, sadly. Yeah, there's no 40k analog. Like in 40k, you can run just like Chaos Demons, and that's your thing. It's just all demon people, but there's no analog in AOS. Okay, so yeah, Sons, incredibly Thankie. It's awesome. I freaking love it. It's so much fun to play. Could still be better, but I'm not gonna I'm 80% Thankie on this one. This is a high Thankie.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it did what it was supposed to, right?
Yeah.
Some of the most egregious parts of the prior book was fixed, and it got a new model, right?
Yeah.
Their army increased by 25 or by 20%.
Yeah, I mean, we got 2 new models technically. Obviously, 1 kit, 2 builds in both the King and the Beast Smasher, and you can still run all megas. They upped the damage on the weapons and reduced the number of attacks. Good. That both makes the army worse competitively and more fun. Which is again,
Yep.
It's so funny to me that you can make an army better by making it competitively worse. And yet, here we are. They did it. And I'm thanking them for it. So it's funny.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, again, there are yeah, there you go. Keith said, I like that Suns see more swingy big damage instead of reliable low damage. Exactly. That both makes the army, as we said during that show, it makes the army less competitive, but makes it more of a win. The people who are playing Giants because they want to play Giants like me, that's what we want. We'll be like, darn, no damage. And then the next round we'll be like, yeah, 25 damage. Yes, get this, take off your toys, mate. We got him. That's great. Super fun. So, anyways, my personal take on it. Timmy just wants those big moments. And this book finally provides it. Jack Gray says, what would be a good army to start with if someone was just beginning to play AOS? So we did a show on this a little while back, Jack, so go check it out. We did a whole show dedicated to best starter armies, maybe a month or so ago, month and a half ago. But yeah, and so we sort of map them out on this quadrant of, ease of play versus cost and all that kind of stuff. And my short answer to your question is ogres, Iron Jaws, Giants to some, Sons of Behemoth to some degree. Certainly all those would easily qualify as good starter armies. But if you don't want to play Destruction, there are other forces as well. A lot of the good starter armies are in Destruction, but there, there are other choices. If you watch that show, we kind of walk through all the options. Okay. I just realized these are in a funny order, but it doesn't matter. Okay, Ogre Maw Tribes. Tom, the Fat Boys. What are we doing here? Other than being a late 80s rap
I like that book top to bottom. I mean, for me, that's a huge Thankie book. Mm-hmm. I like just about everything that I saw in that book. So much so that I was on the verge of buying a new army again.
I'll answer a question in the chat here. Is Tzeentch easy to play? Nope. It is a very techie book that relies on a lot of very complicated interactions and magic and all sorts of things that are not beginner friendly. A very simple answer is no, definitely not.
I think a Zangor heavy army could be both fun and not be too techy, is what I would say.
No, I think it's just a complete nightmare to paint.
Where you might be able to get away with it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, I mean, yes, but that's Tzeentch. In general, if you're not Tzeentch demons, that is true.
Yeah, the demon half of the book's just this is easy. It's all just spray paint and bubblegum. Yeah, I mean, maybe is my answer. Yeah, let me. Here's what I'll say, Tom, just real quick on the Tzeentch thing. Tom, can you cast spells at the ground at nothing? Is that a thing you can do in this game?
I mean, it would depend on the spells. Like, you can cast spells that don't require selecting a target.
Right, which most do not. Namely, all of the Tzeentch spells do not. So they can just be cast into the ground, right, effectively.
Right.
What new player would ever think about doing that?
Sure.
Okay. And the first time somebody does that to you, when you don't know that's a thing, just to generate fate points, the first time a Tzeentch player is like, I'm gonna sit here and cast all my spells. I'm not gonna actually resolve anything from them. No benefit will be gained by any unit. I'm just gonna throw fireballs at the ground over here. It's still the one thing that drives me nuts about the book.
Right. Sure.
Because that is jank ass. Sure. But anyways, we're talking ogres. Okay. Yeah, my problem with ogres is that so many of the units just didn't get touched and still don't have a role. Man-eaters, still trash. You know, like there's a lot of units that they just clearly phoned it in on. And that's unfortunate. But that being said, there's also more units in my mind that they went, okay, let's take some time, let's make these guys good. Gluttons, iron guts.
Yep.
The Frost Lord on Stonehorn. Like the Butcher and the Slaughtermaster still. The Tyrant. I think all these guys have use. I think all these guys are really fun. And like, man, overall, if you're like a Gutbusters player, I think it's just like a fantastic world to live in. Despite the fact that new goofy hero just doesn't actually do enough. I think the Gutbusters heroes on a whole are pretty much wins, barring that one particular Bloodpelt Hunter shooter guy. But, it just feels good to play. You have a lot of mortal wounds. It's an ABC army. You always want to be charging. It's tough. It scores well. It plays the game well. It does fun stuff. I don't know what else to say. It definitely feels to me like it's maybe 60% Thankie. There's probably 40% janky in that book. Just stuff that could have used a pass. Could have been given a role. Could have been given something to do.
Yeah.
A lot of those scrolls just didn't feel like it had the actual update. But I mean, for the most part, I'm still very Thankie for the book. So cool. Yeah, agreed. Okay. Lumineth Realm Lords. Book 4, Tom. In Lumineth Realm Lords. In the ever expanding Lumineth Realm Lords trilogy. I'm gonna let you go on this one. I'm gonna let you finish. But thank you, Jankie, on that one.
Sure. I mean, I'm gonna say they're 51% Thankie. As somebody who has Lumineth, it was a book that made me want to pick up Lumineth again. Okay. I didn't like where they were at in the previous version. It felt like it was techless or bust. Now I think that techless has a place in some lists, but in general, I think that more kind of mixed arms lists, even including mountains and hammerers. I know they're not called that, but that's
I know what you mean.
I think that they are. I think that they have a place, even in non-armies, like non-Alarith focused, Geometrica lists. And I think that's a huge win all the way down. Some of the tech pieces were given some neat new functionality. I think about like the wind chargers, for example, and their ward ignoring arrows. And a lot of the big problems were reined in, even though they lost their roles. So I'm thinking about, for example, the fox, like the wind spirits of foxes.
Sure.
The super jankiness got reined in. Now those things don't really have a role anymore, in my opinion, for their points cost and for everything else that you're trading out for them. But I think that a lot of things that were problematic, I think, were dealt with, and I think there are a lot of good options. And for me, and part of it, I think, is that they play how I wanted to play the army, right? Which is like a diverse toolbox of units, as opposed to like spamming one unit or spamming like a block of 30 archers. So in my opinion, I'm thankful for where the book's at now, especially given all of the iterations that we've come from.
Sure.
Yes, there are still things that need to be cleaned up. Yes, there are still things that, yes, they are still complicated in that sense because there's just so many spellcasters and there's so many lores and all that. But I think that it's in a much, much, much better place than it was before. And
sure.
to that, I'm thankful. And again, it has me willing to paint up and finish that army.
Sure. And Hades, I understand it was 3 proper LRL books, but I'm still calling it 4 because Techless exists in Broken Realms, and you don't get a skate out from that. Original recipe LRL, Techless, then the LRL book, then this LRL book. That's 4 books. So there we go. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm janky on this one. Like, I respect everything you said, and I don't actually disagree with much you said. It's just it still doesn't tip it over the line for me. Things I'm thanky for. I love that they made, like, that Alarith feel like they have real play in them now. I always thought they were an underappreciated part of the book. It's cool. I love the whole Ymetrica part. So, like, but, you know, the Stone Guard are fun. So that's great. Good. I'm glad they seem to have a role and are functional and even perhaps scary. It really sucks to play against them with an army where your Ren tops out at -2. It's like, well, I guess I just don't do damage this game. Great, awesome. Especially if they get the 5-up ward up. But and so like I'm fine with that. I do like some of the little tech things you talked about, which is like, you know, I do like the wind chargers ignoring ward saves. I think is a cool thing. So like that's fine. You know, I appreciate that Sentinel spam isn't the most logical and only build anymore. But on the whole, it still feels like half an army. It still feels underwhelming. I'm still not sure how it's supposed to win, what its actual game plan is. It still feels like it's missing heroes, like it's missing troops. I mean, it just, you know, when we had Martin on, he made a comment, something to the order of, this book will always feel incomplete as long as we don't have Tyrion, right? As long as we don't have sort of the full sweep of what these guys should be bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Tyrion's troops, not that we need Tyrion himself on the table, but like Tyrion's half, the martial half of the world. And I don't think I disagree with him. You know, like Dawn Riders still feel like they're not doing much. Wardens, I think, will be a lot better once we get out of Bounty Hunter world. Like, I do think Wardens is a good scroll.
Sure. Yep.
But they're rough in the current season. But you know, I think that'll change. But like overall, I'm glad that we cut out a decent amount of the NPE. That was good. But it's still like, there's still some there. It's still an army that feels like it's winning in ways that it shouldn't be winning when they should just be like good elves. And so it just, again, it's not like super janky to me. It's just somewhat. I mean, I've played this army a lot, not piloted. I've played against it a lot, you know, because, you know, one of my group has played this constantly since the army came out. He loves it.
Yep.
And so, you know, it's fine. It's definitely better to play against now than it was before.
Yeah.
Like as an opponent experience here is what I mean, right? But I still feel like the Lumineth player is relying on the wrong things. It doesn't feel like it's relying on a coherent strategy. I just don't see the lists in the same way. Like when I read the Skaven book, I'm overwhelmed with options of stuff to want to build. When I read the Suns book, I just want to put them giants on the table and go smash things. When I read the Lumineth book, I find myself confused at what I'm supposed to be doing here. That's what.
Well, not only that, almost everybody that I know that's built a Lumineth list has basically come away with the exact same list, give or take 170 points.
Right. Dan said, what would you say is missing from the book that Tyrion would fulfill? Assumingly, like, specialized martial elite troops who will do work in interesting ways. Like, because Blade Lords aren't it. And, you know, Stone Guard are fine. Like, don't get me wrong, Stone Guard are plenty scary. But assumingly that side of it, as well as martial heroes, like actual martial heroes that can get in the scrum and support their troops in a real way.
Yeah, like something that like Eltharion, but on a larger scale.
Yeah, sure. It just feels like you're relying on magic that you're like okay at to win. I mean, if you're in Zytrek, you're like decent. You're decent at it. It's not like you're a mega caster or something, unless Tyrion's on the table. In which case, then you do dominate the magic.
Oh, you mean Teclis? Yeah.
Or what I say? Sorry, yes, unless Teclis is on the table. Sorry. All this Tyrion talk. Yep. Welcome to Tyrion and Teclis talk, where we only talk about Tyrion and Teclis. Okay, so yeah, but like, it's interesting. Here's hoping for book 5. I guess that's 5th time's a charm. That's what they always say. All right, S2D, the final pseudo book of the year, Slaves to Darkness. Obviously we got it's going to show up on next year's Thankie or Jankie as well, I suppose, because I'll go back and pull all the books. But it's here. It's out. Let's not kid ourselves. What's your take, Tom?
I'm thank you for it. I like what they're doing. I like what it addressed. I like how it spoke to some of the things that were more broken, like Be'lakor, and adjusted them. And I like that it got new models and that it has new interesting units or reinventions of old units. I think that there are aspects of it that are a bit strong, but it also adjusted some things that needed to be fixed. So overall, like, it's a book that has me excited.
Yeah, this has got to be... This is up there. This might be my Thankie of the year. And this is in a book with, like, 3 books I really loved, which is Skaven, Sons, and Ogres. Okay? And this might be my favorite of the year, my most Thankie. I love the redesign of this, the evolution of this book. It did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was turn chaos into independent operators where the marks mean something and it is relevant and it lets you design your list accordingly, mixing the units with the marks to fill different roles and, really bring them into a coherent, unified force. This is another one that's inspired a ton of different lists. There are weak points, as we said on the show. I think the Demon Prince is very underwhelming, which is a shame because it's the coolest new model. But I think the new Chosen are awesome. I think the new Ogroid Theridons have got gas in the tank. So, like, a lot of the new models are interesting without being, like, obviously broken. I think Chaos Knights and Chaos Warriors are both really good. There's just so much in that book I really, really enjoy. The new Eye of the Gods table is just an absolute flavor win from top to bottom. It makes me want to take Exalted Champions of Chaos as my hero, like, in the army every time, and just start rolling on that table and exalt the Dark Gods for their favor. Man, this book is great. I have had so much fun with this book. I've gotten to play it, a decent number of times now, and just had an absolutely fantastic time with it. So, I mean, like, it really shows what can be done if they invest a lot of time into the making the sort of verisimilitude of the book and how it plays match the story and the world and the feel of everything that's going on. There are challenges. As I said, no book is perfect, but boy, oh boy, was this one just a strong win for me. Like, what a strong end to the year. So yeah, I think it's great. Anonymous, is the Doom Flail for the Doom Knight worthless compared to the Lance, the new War Scroll? Yes. Easy answer. Looks cool though. But yes. It's just lances. It's always lances. Okay.
Yep.
So that's Battle Tomes. All right, let's keep going. Next up.
Oof,
boy, Tom, you knew we were going to get there. Here we are.
No.
It is time for the GHB. The General's Handbook we've worked under for this
Really?
6 months.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. I mean,
I was surprised that that's where you wanted to go. No,
we got to get this out of the way now.
Going.
I don't want to end on this note.
Sure. Well, no, there was another big addition that I thought we would cover first, but let's do this one.
Okay. Maybe I missed it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I missed the thing you were going to talk about.
Yep.
But all right.
Sure.
General's Handbook. Did you think I was going to talk about the Incarnate next?
Oh, yeah. Because that came earlier in the year.
Sure. I didn't put the Incarnate in here because I don't want to talk about him. He's janky. I don't know what else to say.
No, but like to me, that is both like the highest success and the biggest failure of the year.
We'll add him. We'll add him in a moment.
I love in a moment. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let's talk about the GHB then.
Okay. So I've split the GHB into 2 distinct categories. Okay. Because I think we'll talk about them differently.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Battle plans and the season rules. Yeah? Like the battle pack and the battle plans.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah? Okay.
Yep.
So, let's start with the battle plans. Where are you living overall?
I liked them. I think that they were maybe a little bit technical. They forced army building rules in a way that we haven't always seen. And what I mean by that is you needed to think about like what the possibilities were, who had first mover advantage in some of these, was that worth going low drops? Like there really was a technicality to the battle plans, a nuance that just that has not always been there. And that's good and bad, right?
Sure.
Different people will experience that differently. And so, but overall, I think that it was positive. I think they were some of the most well thought out technical battle plans that we've had.
Okay. I think there are 6.5 decent battle plans, decent to good battle plans in here. So out of 12, which means that by the power of math, I am Thankie for the battle plans. It's that easy.
Sure. Yep.
Now, the other 5 are trash. It's trash. Like, they're bad. And people use them in tournaments. And I'm like, that's a shame. Why did you use that awful battle plan? And then it just like, it's just bad.
It's just like 5 relocation orbs.
Yeah. I would rather play relocation orb than any of those other 5 missions that are in there. Than any of the 5
I know that. And they all feel like that, but I agree. And sure. I don't want to play any of them, including relocation orb. Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
The AOS coach says, has Vince or Tom ever used the realm command? No. No, and nobody ever will. Because it doesn't do anything. It's not even worth remembering. It is so situational. Exactly. Like it does. No, that is like that thing is literally.
What's it do again?
Ipsum lorem text. I said that originally in our initial review of the GHB. I said no one will ever use this. This does not matter. And sure enough.
Yep.
Like yep.
It's true.
I don't know what that was. Just tree-ish. At any rate. Yeah, by the power of math, 6.5 good battle plans or decent battle plans means that the battle plans were good. So I'm Thankie. I will say of those 6.5, I did have a lot of fun with the tournaments in this season that I went to and the games I played using them.
Yeah.
So cool. The reason I'm saying 6.5 is because one of them is just like it's right on the line, but it's good enough. It's like 51% good. So I'm like, okay, you get to be in here. You get to be in the good. You're not my favorite, but I can play you. Okay. The season rules. Now we're talking about
Jankie.
Galley vets, but like Battle Brothers, the Gaziger, the tactics, the whole shooting match, the battalions. Yeah, exactly.
Including Jankie. Like I felt like they, in my opinion, they changed the core rules and the core conceit of the game too much. I liked the attacking in multiple ranks, but a lot of the other things just it didn't feel right. That felt like the battle tactics felt like a miss to me. I know not everybody felt that way, but they were just a little bit too nuanced or specialized. That it really became a struggle, especially when you try battle tones that got battle tactics for free. It just created like way too big. I like some of what the GHB offered. Again, like I said, fighting multiple ranks and the like, but a lot of it just was either forgettable or it was way too heavy, like battalions, for example.
Yep. Yeah. It's a hard janky for me.
So it's janky.
Yeah, like
yep.
It is a hard janky. Because I think that despite my initial excitement about some of the battle tactics on first read, it just didn't really pan out how I was hoping. Everybody just defaults to take what's theirs as your grand strat because it's like you're just going to end up with units in their territory and they're going to end up with units in yours, and we all just do that now unless you get tabled. It's just win more. Don't get me wrong, we all love the Battle Brothers thing. Like, that has got to be the most universally popular thing they've ever put out. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Everybody was like, yes, let's fight let's make combat easy. Right? Like, yay. It's just such a win. I hope that what that was a dry run for 4th edition. Okay? And, like, 4th edition is just, there's some rule that says, infantry models, which is like anybody with 3 or 4 wounds or less and not a mount or something, right, gets to do this. Great. Freaking great. Like, I'm thrilled then. It's the only thing I'll be sad about if it goes away. If it doesn't, yay. Cool. Then what a win. If it does, boo. Right? I don't know.
Agreed.
But everything else, I'm just like, we can't rotate out of this fast enough. I can't get rid of bounty hunters fast enough. How many times have we mentioned this will be interesting without bounty hunters, the blah, 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 on and on, right? And we're like, that just, bounty hunters just covers up expert conquerors also being a nightmare. Right?
Yes, correct.
But that one would, like, if you got rid of bounty hunters.
I count as 180 on this objective.
Right.
Like, that's a thing.
Sure. Shadling, would that hurt units with 2-inch reach too much? No, I don't think so. Because, again, like, lots of people have 2-inch reach for different reasons. And, it's still, you can still be much more versatile in how you do. Like, the half-inch of a half-inch thing is still fairly limited. But, it's there. It makes your life easier if you want it. But it means that you have to fight in a certain way. Yeah, I mean, I just can't yeet most of this stuff into the sun fast enough. And so it's just hard janky. So, yeah, like Bonds of Battle or Battle Brothers, whatever it's called, Gabor. The thing that lets you fight within half an inch of somebody who's within half an inch, if you're a Galatian veteran. That's the thing. Yep. And, like, just in general, no one's complained about it. And, like, if it does, like, if 2-inch reach isn't as important anymore, just make those units move down in points a little. Great, easy, done. Okay, great, fantastic. Like, who cares? I'm not gonna, like, the few units that might be negatively impacted or not worth as much because they have a 2-inch reach is not worth inconveniencing and making the game suck more for everybody else. So.
Yep.
Yes, and Blade says, I like the idea of bounty hunters. Agreed. Like, concept-wise, it was fine. It was completely just execution. Right?
Yep.
So.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so, we've got a new Generals coming. Season 2. We're in this 6-month rotation now. let's see what we get. All right, let's be hopeful.
Yep.
I am hopeful this was an anomaly, is what I will say, and that what we will see is a much stronger return to form with the next one. So, okay. Warpstone, no, we don't know what that is yet. They haven't said, so we have no idea. I mean, generally, one would assume like December, January. So I mean, like next month to sometime in early January, probably. That would just, if it's 6-month seasons, it came out in July, so that's got to be kind of where it is. So, but who knows in reality? All right, Tom, Warcry. Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about some Warcry stuff here because absolutely. Now, before we talk Warcry, Tom, let me go back here. Actually, do you want to talk about Season of War Thondia and the Incarnate here as part of this? Do we want to talk about the two of them? I'll add it right now. What's happening? There we go. Okay. Let's talk about Season of War Thondia, Tom. Here we go. I just added it.
You're breaking up on me.
I'm sure you'll be fine. All right, Season of War Thondia. Here we go. I'll talk about it first. I am Thankie for the book. I am Jankie on the Incarnate. I think Season of War Thondia was super cool. I liked the narrative missions in there. I ran the narrative missions in there. I played through it. Tom dropped again. Oh, he's back again. I actually thought they were super fun. Like, me and a buddy played through all 5 missions. Had a fun time. They were fun. They were unique. It was neat. It was a neat thing. The Kronspine, the Incarnate. That's my rating on Incarnates in general. When we talked about these guys at the live show at Adepticon, we talked about how difficult it was going to be to walk this line, and we didn't. So there we go.
Yeah, they failed is the answer. I mean, for me, like, what was so fantastic and terrible is that the Kronspine was an utter disaster, in my opinion. And yet the box was amazing. Like, I loved the box with all the terrain and like the themed board to a realm. Like, it's the exact thing that we've been pitching for years, right? On our New Year's show. There's at least 2 or 3 years that we promoted this type of idea. And I
doing
love
a box of terrain tuned to a realm. Yeah.
Yeah, tuned to a realm to feel like that thing. And even the battle packs and what it was could have been a wonderful, wonderful thing, right? And so I loved that as a product. I hated the actual Kronspine War Scroll and the rules around it. That's what I got.
Yep.
So for me, it was both one of the most amazing releases of the year and also the worst.
Okay. Like, I enjoyed Season of War a lot. I thought the actual narrative of it was fun. I liked. Hey, thanks, Crash TV. Like, I liked the terrain. The box is too expensive. Say that because it came with a stupid model that we didn't need. But like, yes, I liked the terrain. I just didn't like the cost on that box. The Incarnate just he should have been if he was relegated to like open play and narrative play, I'm totally good with it. Fine. A+.
Or even the Thondia Battle Pack. Like, if it was just the Thondia Battle Pack.
Now, here's what I'll say.
Events could have invoked that or not. Like, they could have chosen to push that button. That's not something that they did, though.
Now, I'll say 2 things on him. On the Incarnate. I'll speak in the Incarnate's defense at the same time. Okay? Which is that, on one hand, that thing did help a lot of bad armies actually have, like, it filled a necessary hole in a lot of bad armies and made them interestingly competitive, as long as the other army didn't have an Incarnate as well. Okay? So, like...
Yeah.
But, but it often helped some of the really good armies just be gooder, especially at 400 points. Yeah. We had the three megas and or whatever it was, the Incarnate mega army, right? And that was just that was a pretty bad army to play against. That was no fun.
Yep.
You know, so like the problem is he could have been interesting if he was only showing up in bad armies, but he showed up in a lot of good ones too.
Yep.
So I'll be interested to see where we go next with like those narrative books. I hope they still do them. And, you know, I hope whenever we eventually get to a new realm. I still want
a season of war each year. Yeah, I want a season of war each year. I don't know that we're not going to. We'll probably get a season of war each edition is probably what we're going to see.
Yeah. But maybe we'll be wrong. Maybe they'll just slip that into the roadmap somewhere, right? Maybe it'll be 6 books in spring, Tom. Who knows? I love books in the springtime. You know, you never know. So you know, because I want us to get into other realms, man. I want to see some cool terrain and some cool stuff in other realms too. Not that Gur isn't fun. Gur's fine, but other places are cool too.
I mean, it's clearly our 3rd edition realm, right? Yeah. Like it's clearly our 3rd edition realm, and which is fine. But I mean, it just is what it is. Akshi was the first one, then Shyish, and then now Gur.
Yeah, so we're clearly sticking to a realm per edition, which is fine. I guess that means we've got at least 8 good editions in us for AOS. So hey, there we go.
Sure.
We're well plotted out through the 2030s. All right, now Warcry.
Do we have any other releases? Oh, Warcry. Okay.
Yeah, now Warcry. Okay, so Warcry. We had 2 boxes this year, Tom. First off, speaking of Gur, we had the Heart of Gur box set with the Hashut Fellows and the Rotmire Creed, and then we have Sundered Fate, right? Which is not out yet, but is coming out very soon, with our little we're releasing like this next weekend or whatever, with our little lizard boys and the Jade face mask dudes. Okay.
Yep.
So let's take this individually. Heart of Gur, Thankie or Jankie?
Thankie. Okay. I liked at least one warband out of there, and I love the terrain. I love that the board is also Gur. So if you bought the Season of War box, right? You got 2 boards, and then with this one, you're going to get a board. And if you buy the next Warcry box, you'll also get another Gur board, and so you'll be able to make an entire Gur table. Then you'll have the terrain to do it.
Okay.
Which is my intention.
Okay. So I'm going to split my answer a little, which is this. New edition of Warcry, Thankie. I think it's good. I think it's really good because it's like just cleaned up previous Warcry, which was a lot of fun. Just kind of cleaned some stuff up, rebalanced some of the fighters, and added reactions, but they're pretty constrained and reasonable. Sure. So like, rules wise, I think it was a win. Very Thankie. This box, Jankie. I think both of these warbands are underwhelming. I think the Hashut guys are just an absolute whiff. Just an incredible whiff.
Sure.
I think the Rotmire Creed are like average at best and annoying rules wise. They had to be, FAQ fixed because otherwise they were one of the worst things to play against. They would just shoot you and then instantly every unit, in the zip code has 7 disease markers.
Yeah. Yep. Right. No, I agree with that, the rules thing, but like I loved having a Warcry warband that was clearly aligned with a god. Like it seemed like it's the type of thing that I wanted, is what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, hey.
So I loved it. But
more for that. I don't love the muscle trees is part of my problem. There's a couple pieces in the terrain I like. I like the little barricades and stuff, the little bone barricades. The little pieces, those are great for like display boards and just, things that are cool to use like as elements of other bases or as part of other larger terrain, but they're not super functional on their own. I like the big floating skull piece like that little skull tower thing. I think that's cool. But yeah, the Heart of Gur for me was just a miss. Like the box itself, just it gets a hard janky for me.
Sure.
2 bad warbands, underwhelming terrain in my estimation. Yeah, but it was the launch for a new edition. I am very thanky for, and that I think is cool. Now, sure. Sundered Fate. Sure. Obviously, we don't know the AOS rules for these guys yet. But I'll tell you right away, right. I'm way more thanky for this box because I think both of these groups are awesome. So,
sure.
The little lizard guys are incredible, super cool. I love their little bird friends. I love the Jade Mask dudes. I think they're the like stone guys. I think they look fantastic. I know not everybody's a fan. They might be a little Marmitey. I'm not sure, but I thought they were cool as. So yeah, I think Sundered Fate's a win, and this got me excited back on track for what we're going to see in future boxes because we got that Warcry roadmap. We know there's more boxes coming.
Right.
And the Sundered Fate models were such a breath of fresh air from how let down I was by Heart of Gur. I was right back in. Right? Like these Jade dudes and the Lizard dudes, incredible.
It's funny that you say that because I could care less about the warbands. Like neither of them align with anything that I play.
Okay.
And so much more interesting to me is the board and the terrain and all that stuff. And that's something that like I will buy that Sundered Fate box probably just for the board and terrain, and I will sell off all those models.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I get it.
Yeah. But hey, I'm down for it. So I am thanky for the Warcry stuff we got. And things not pictured here are like the Centurion Marshal and the Legionnaires, both of whom are cool. Both of whom might actually be decent in S2D as well. So that's cool too. I really like that Centurion Marshal model a lot. Marshall model. Marshall Mathers over there, the Centurion. Centurion, whatever he is. He's a centaur guy. And the Legionnaires look cool. Again, they would have been a better pick than the Hashut guys. I just do not get the Hashut guys. The human worshippers of Hashut, whatever. I don't know. I can't talk about how much of a jank those guys are. But hey, Sundered Fate's good. Can't wait to see what we got next. Warhammer Underworlds, Tom. That's right. We're going to talk a little bit about Warhammer Underworlds.
Sure.
So obviously, this year we had some Nether Maze stuff. We had the Gnarlwood, right? So here I've got like the little Dock people, the Skaven people. We've got the Gnarlwood dudes, which is those incredible skeletons, and then the Berserker guys, and then I've got the Nether Maze Gore Chosen of Drom. Those are that incredible Khorne warband with like the greatest single Khorne model ever made. Right?
Yep.
So here we're just talking about models, basically, right? I mean, we can talk about the rules in AOS.
But neither of us play Underworlds.
Neither of us play Underworlds, but so this is just purely a models evaluation, right? Yes, there was also the Witch Hunters. I just couldn't fit them on the slide, so I ran out of room. But yes, also the Witch Hunters.
Yeah, I love all of the models. Like Underworlds continues to be kind of in my mind like the premier model line.
Mm-hmm.
Like way more than Warcry. Like I love just the flavor of everything that comes out of Underworlds, and I'm gonna love the new tie this back to the Gits to love the new Git stuff that's coming. Like I just loved everything that they've put out for warbands. I can't think of one warband that I really haven't loved, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Beast one that's the other half of Gnarlwood is my least favorite of all of them. Like, that one doesn't really get me going, get my juices flowing. It's okay. It's still not bad, right? It's just, like, it's okay.
Yep.
On the flip side, those skeletons are outrageous, man. Outrageous.
Yeah. Yeah, they're amazing.
Right.
Just utterly amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'll say this. I bought 2 Underworlds warbands three Underworlds warbands in the last month. Because I just love them. I love utilizing some of the models. I love pulling them apart and using them for other things.
Sure.
Like I've been doing that with some of my Soul Blight stuff. And I just they've knocked it out of the park again and again and again. And I stand by this. I think the best models that GW is putting out right now are Underworld's Warband.
Yeah, I think there are exceptions, but that is often absolutely the case, especially when you're talking about normal infantry-sized dudes, right? Because the things that would compete in normal AOS would be your centerpieces, right? And it's well, that's not fair. Underworlds doesn't have those kinds of models. Slinks,
right.
Little Slinks Claw Pack, Slink and his boys, love them. Yeah. Incredible models, incredible rules in AOS, fun to play. I wish everybody's stuff actually was more like Slink, where it was hey, I really want to use these in my iOS army. That would be cool.
Yeah.
The Gore Chosen of Drom, that main guy, I really love him. Coach isn't as big of a fan, but Coach, I think you're insane. If in this regard, Coach, because man, that dude rules. Yeah, he's so good. So many of these models are so good. On the whole, I think this is just an absolute thanky world. The Witch Hunters too, by the way, thanky. I just thought it's been a fantastic year.
Give me an entire army of Witch Hunters and Sigmar Zealots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this has just been a strength to strength year for Underworlds.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Cool. All right. Gareth said he thinks Coach is insane, but in this instance he agrees with him. Well, you're both wrong. How do you like that? Because that dude rules. He has an axe and a staff and a headdress that's just banging. He look at that guy. He's in charge. Okay. My final slide, Tom. You ready? There was one important thing in 2022 we can't forget about that came back. And that, Tom, was events. Events came back. That's right? Funny. This was the year that events came back.
Yep. That's not where I thought you were going to go. That's really funny. And I love everything that I've seen with the events this year. It seems like they did great. The finals were fantastic. I've been excited with the events.
It has been so good.
I have not gotten to participate in them, unfortunately, because I had a lot of things that overlapped, and it didn't work out. But I'm hoping this next year to participate.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we had all the U.S. Open events, and those were all amazing. From everything I heard, the big grand narrative at the final was absolutely an incredible experience. All right. And but just being able to get back out this year and go to all the events, to see the tournaments return over the course of the year, right? To be able to see a healthy, growing tournament scene has been incredible. It has been so much fun to go back out to see people again. I cannot explain over the course of 2020, 2021, and so on, how much I missed this stuff. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed events until they got taken away. And now they're back. It just makes me really, really value this even more, because all the people I've gotten to play at tournaments this year, all the fun games, the people I've met, just hanging out with people and talking Warhammer for 2 solid days is what I call a perfect weekend. And it's just been wonderful to be able to do that.
Yeah, and to be clear, let me clarify. let me clarify. I thought you were talking about the U.S. Open event specifically.
Yeah, it's part of the story, but
you're also talking about more broadly, like exactly, like Golden Demon and Adepticon and all of those things are finally back. No, I agree with that, and it has been it's been a banger of a year. I went to more events this year than I ever have.
Right. Yeah, so, like the big cons being back, Adepticon, Nova, incredible, so much fun, like just ridiculous amounts of fun.
Yep.
I mean, I had like a truly life-altering experience this year at Nova. Okay? In that I got to, I've been a paint judge lots of times. But this time, not only did I get to paint judge at Nova for the apprentice category, which was like, I would never want to paint judge for anything else. It is so much fun to judge, to be the judge for newer painters and to lift those folks up. But I actually got to like hand out the awards. I know I've told this story before, but I just want to share it again because to this day, months later, it still sticks in my head as a transformative moment in my life. Like being able to announce awards, being able to hand out medals to people, to have them come up and then you hand them a medal and shake their hand and tell them that they did something amazing, and to see them like smile and stuff like that, and to be happy that their work has been validated. Like, I can't explain how good that feels. Like, it's crazy. Although Gareth is also right. Close second at Nova was getting an Econo Hammer t-shirt. Or Econo Hammer jersey, really.
Yeah.
Like joining Team Econo Hammer was that's Gareth, you're like moment 2. Okay, absolutely. Don't worry. But that was really fun. Like getting to see everybody, to talk to everybody, to hang out with everybody, going to all the tournaments and stuff this year, playing so much AOS. It's been wonderful. And I look forward to 2023. Like,
I would agree with
that. By the way, everybody, don't forget Brewhammer. Tickets go on sale December 3rd. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, that's good to remember. No, can I add one more thing? Like, if we're gonna move on from that, like, there's something that you did miss that's worth mentioning.
Please.
It was the return of Curse City.
Okay. Yeah, I thought about it. I skipped it. I'll be honest with you, Tom. I skipped it because I was like, that just feels like it's gonna kick a dead horse. But sure, hit me. What do you got?
No, so like I want to celebrate. Like I'm thinking that they doubled down and returned back and released the boxes, like the original boxes. Where I know a lot of people, it's like a lot of my friends were very disappointed that they didn't get in the original Curse City, like shipment, and so they felt like they had missed it. And then suddenly it was available again, and like I want to celebrate that. I am so thankful for that. Now, the expansions were disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
They were lackluster, but they still produced them. And so they're like 49% janky to me. Does that make sense? Like I'm excited to have like when the final expansion releases, having a complete adventure set, right? And I've collected partially, so that I have everything to run over. The reason I've been painting Soulblight is because it's doubling down for this other, right? So I'm thankful for that. I'm disappointed in the past, but the expanded in there.
Tom's internet is trying to kill his curse.
That said, I'm.
You were cutting in and out a lot, but yeah, go ahead. Nope.
Oh, I just like I'm that the Curse City expansion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
even if
Curse City got a janky in last year's review because of what happened with it. Nothing this year that happened redeemed it for me.
I'll say this: I look for their next exploration.
Sure, I mean, I can see that, but like, and I hope it's something fun. But like, I agree with the internet in general that's trying to strangle your opinion. Like, they came out with something that had so much potential. It ended up in a horrible janky situation. They re-released the game, and that's fine. Good. I'm glad they re-released it. You know, cool. Okay. Sure. I mean, maybe it crosses the line for Thankie just because they made it available to people. But those expansions were such a letdown to me. Like, I thought we were going to get our Blackstone Fortress. And we didn't.
Right.
We just didn't.
No, we didn't. And I agree with that. I agree with that. We didn't. And to me, like, that is disappointing, although it's more than we've ever gotten with any of the prior Warhammer quests. And I think that that's worth acknowledging.
Sure. I mean, look, I hope whatever... Here's what I'll say. If from that entire experience and ordeal, they learned some kind of lesson about how to do this properly the next time, and we don't get a similar repeat of this experience,
sure.
Then I'm happy.
So let me say it this way. I think the real lesson here was that AOS Warhammer quests can be super marketable, right? Like, the demand that was pent up for the original Cursed City just blew them out of the water, right? Mm-hmm. So if you have a banger of a concept and you have compelling models, you're going to sell just truckloads of this game. Now, ideally, the gameplay is going to follow, right?
Sure.
Like, it had its own problems. But like, I still love the original Silver Tower, and we still play the crap out of it in my house. So I think that what it tells me is that I think that there can be a super successful AOS Warhammer quest.
Okay. I guess we will probably learn in time. All right, but that's Indeed. It. What did we miss? Is there anything you're thanky for, or that you think was janky? Do you think we're crazy for any of our opinions? Drop those down in the comments below. Let us know. Tell us what you're thanky for over the last year. Tell us what you thought was janky. Put it in there. If you didn't hit like already, hey, do that. Hit that like button. It helps other people find the show. Subscribe, obviously, if you haven't. We're on the journey to 100K here, folks. We can do it. Show everybody we can do it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, you can do so. There's a Patreon link down below focused on review and feedback and taking your next step on your hobby journey. There's also a merch store. There's only 5 weeks to go, but you too can get those orders in now for Christmas for Team Tom or Team Tyler. Don't be sleeping on those opportunities.
Hey,
go ahead.
I have somebody in my household right now wearing a Team Tom shirt, so you can too.
Be like Tom, or not. Get your Team Tyler shirt. Show your love for whichever one you think is actually better, and vote in the way we all do in this country with our dollars. But at any rate, for those of you who are in the States and have Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. For those of you anywhere else in the world, I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. I hope you're having a wonderful year, and I hope this is as we cruise here into the holiday season in December, as the days get short. I hope everybody's days are full of hobby and AOS and all of that. I am thankful for all of you. I'm thankful that I get to do this show every week with Tom and with Tyler, and that people watch this and enjoy it and seem to have fun with it. So thank you all so much. We deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate you more than you know. So thank you all. In the end, I am most thanky for the friends we made along the way, Tom. That's what it is. Turns out.
Indeed.
What I am not thanky for is your internet, but that's okay. Such is life.
It's been so bad. It's been so bad.
At any rate, thank you all for watching. Click those buttons. It's fun. As always,